Well, howdy, boys and girls. I am Jerry Carlson, and I am the publisher of a direct mailed magazine in the Portland, Oregon area. And I wanted to read you a little editorial that I put in my magazine, delivered the day before September 11th in 2020. 19 years after the terrorist attack, knocking down our towers in New York, crashing into the Pentagon. Anyway, I got called a racist, of all things, for this. And it was just the cancel culture crowd. I mean, when they want to shut you up, they call you a racist. And so they tried to cancel culture me by getting a hold of all of my clients and threatening them. And a lot of them backed out of advertising with me anymore because they were so intimidated. But I'm going to read my entire article, and after we're done, in the comments section down below, I'd really love for anybody to point out where was the racist phrases that I used whatsoever. And I've been dying to do this for the longest time. I'd really love your input. And by the way, like and subscribe this if you agree with me, because hundreds and hundreds of people did. But they weren't the vocal minority that were out to cancel culture me. They were asking me, where do we go from here? When they came to this country, a lot of them from Eastern Europe, getting away from the corruption in their country, and they said, America used to stand for the rule of law. Where do we go from here? Anyway, it was very riveting. I got hundreds of phone calls that were left, voicemails. I saved like 85 of them. The voicemails. I got emails. I got text messages. I got letters written by old man with scriggly old handwriting. He could barely, hold a pencil or a pen and write to me. And they all thanked me for pointing out just what should have been common sense. Anyway, let me read this. And if you could, at the end of the video, after you get a chance to read it, like and subscribe if you'd like, but leave me comments. Try to point out what phrases did I use that would be considered the least bit racist, okay? So I titled it, I Thought We Would Never Forget. It's been 19 years since the events of September 11th, 2001. Again, this delivered in 2020. Middle Eastern fascists decided to commit an act of mass murder on thousands of fellow human beings. They felt entitled to destroy anyone who didn't buy into their fascist, satanic cult's demands for total compliance. It saddens me to see what has happened to the America that had most citizens rally behind the men and women in uniform that ran into the smoke and danger to selflessly save their fellow citizens. We called them heroes, and we gave them respect. It saddens me to see the now third world-like mess that local officials have allowed our state, which is Oregon, our state's largest city, to degrade into today. Their lack of spine to uphold the rule of law is the reason we, the citizens, have to be subjected to the destruction of our public parks, buildings, neighborhoods, and private businesses. By not upholding our laws, it has led to the moral decay that now ensues. It proves that these feckless twits in city and state government need to be thrown out of office. One simple reason is they have violated their oath of office. They asked us for trust, and then raised their right hands and swore to protect and uphold the laws of the state of Oregon and the United States of America. Their unwillingness to even back their men and women in uniform is the most disgusting exhibit of their violation of their oath and the public trust. They release violent criminals out onto our streets to victimize you and I as they claim some sort of moral courage and compassion. Ever consider what the politicians and spineless judges would do to you or I if we allowed our dogs to get out of our yards and hurt a child? They would throw the book at us. Yet they actually believe they are immune from any fault or responsibility. after they let vicious criminals inflict harm on society. They also seem to disregard the safety of our police force too. Apparently, this all stems from a mindset that we are mere peasants to them, and they are our ruling class. I didn't think any American citizen would stand for any government office holder to act as rulers and not subject to the same statutes as they pass and enforce on others. But not cooperating with federal ICE holds on violent criminals, not upholding vagrancy laws, and even going so far as to dispensing hypodermic needles to drug addicts while restricting our access to dangerous plastic straws easily demonstrate so clearly that these arrogant officials need to go. These self-crowned rulers of Oregonians, the very same ones who failed to back our law enforcement professionals, still rely on law enforcement to protect them from the lawless twits they have inspired to destroy the city of Portland. The police seemingly should have every right to not show up when these political backstabbers call 911. But our heroes in uniform don't act that way. Because law enforcement professionals, the men and women with guns and badges, have also taken an oath of office. They honor their oath, even when defending those who may not deserve it. I've heard a local Portland radio guy make the brilliant assessment: if these spineless Democrats and politicians didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. They must somehow feel the rioters are their political base, proving their own selfish lust for power. The phony protesters are criminals, rioter anarchists, and organized by Marxists. They do not want to participate in our system of government. They do not actually care about black lives, even if they try to hide behind a sign stating otherwise. Others claim to be anti-fascists, as they carry out acts of fascism toward all who do not comply. They hide like cowards behind black masks and helmets, as the KKK hid under white hoods. They name their movement in a way as to intimidate any who would question them. You get called a racist, fascist, or worse, and thus you are so defiled that you are subject to any form of violence from their mob. George Orwell warned about this tactic in his book 1984. It's also clearly spelled out in the Communist Manifesto and Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It's easy to prove how insincere these virtue-signaling, self-righteous, social justice activists really are. Ask any of them if they know how many black people, including little babies and children, were killed last month just in the city of Chicago alone. They won't know. They cannot even name a single one. They are the true racists who assume that anyone who isn't the proper color is their enemy, especially if they wear a uniform that covers their skin color. They spit in the face of everything Martin Luther King Jr. stood for. They viciously attack any and all black police officers while claiming that there is not enough people of color on the force. It's all a scam by the Marxist organizers of BLM. Look up their website, read their leaders' agendas, and see if I'm wrong. Do not question them, comrade, or you will be labeled a racist. How convenient. Funny part about that was, 2 weeks after I wrote this, all the stuff about Marxism and whatnot on the BLM website was taken down. Let me continue. This is America, the single greatest country in the history of the world. No other country has done more to improve the lives of peoples of all colors across the globe. No other country has more freedom or defended the world against tyrants, saved the sick from diseases, and protected persecuted minorities. America's greatness is founded in the respect for the rule of law. The rights emanated from our Creator, not the whims of politicians in power. Here in this country, we vote. That's how you get things changed in a truly civil society. Radicals can burn our flag, buildings, or apparently the racist elk statue in downtown Portland. But we, the majority, voted to have folks like that arrested and thrown into jail. I'm pretty sure we all voted that our leaders would respect that premise. Please join me in voting to replace the spineless politicians in our state and local community for violating the public trust and proving they are not willing or capable of doing the jobs we pay them to do. Newsflash! We need more law enforcement, and we need leaders who don't prevent them from upholding laws because of political pressure. The recent crime wave proves that, here and across the nation. The very same type of political mindset is destroying nearly all major cities. The Portland area has proven that over the past 19 years, in spite of politicians' labels and jingoistic claims, as we slide into becoming more and more like a third world country, that Oregon has become far from anything remotely worthy of being called progressive. Please vote, not based on tribalistic party dogma. Rather, vote on the basis of the character of those seeking office to uphold all our laws for all of the people. Remove all those have proven their disregard for that very principle. You know, I haven't read this in a while. I don't know how anybody could consider anything that I just quoted from my article that would be considered the least bit racist whatsoever. Maybe it was the part about mentioning Martin Luther King and how he would roll over in his grave. What do you say? But anyway, why don't you go through this, listen to it again, and leave some comments down below. If you think there was one word of racism in this article that I just got through reading, I would love to know, because nobody else has been able to point out any part of it that is the least bit racist to this date. And this is 3.5 years ago that I wrote that. Anyway, hey, Jerry Carlson, thanks again, and keep an eye out for some more videos I've got coming up, but I really appreciate your time and consideration, and I would really appreciate any of your comments down below. Thanks again.